So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about how I landed my first remote job. Stick around towards the end because I'm also gonna share some tips on what you can do to land a remote job. If you're new here, my name is Jessica and I talk about project management and working remotely. Let's get into it. From the very beginning, I was so incredibly intentional. I was so clear that I wanted a remote job. I went as far as I put it in my cover letter, seeking remote job. I put it in my LinkedIn summary and on my website. I was so incredibly clear and intentional that I wanted a remote job. Seeking remote job, doing XYZ, open to off-site positions, telecommute options. I used all of those keywords. Just anything public facing, I was just so blatantly obvious that I wanted a remote job. I saw a lot of job openings for companies that wanted people in their office and they just wanted people who had experience working in office. And then on the flip side, I saw a lot of remote companies wanting candidates with remote work experience. So I kind of saw two sides to it. And so that's what really kind of drove my decision to be very, very intentional with yes, this is what I want, kind of telling the universe essentially, this is what I want, and then just being so clear throughout anything that was public facing that I wanted a remote position. The other thing that I did was I highlighted in my cover letter skills that I knew a remote company was looking for. A great communicator, and giving specific examples on how I'm great at communicating. I highlighted freelance experience, so where I didn't have to be in an office. I am a self-starter. I have self-discipline. I'm very self-motivated. I have all of these qualities that would fit perfect for a candidate that's working remotely. And I think that really helped me land the position. Now, obviously with remote work, it's a lot more competitive. Same with, applying for remote positions outside of your city. Same goes for a company. They are not constrained to, the candidates in a particular city, so they could choose anybody across the entire United States if they wanted to. So how I actually ended up finding a remote position. So what I did is, if you search in Craigslist, you know that your search is within a particular city. So, you can search like Craigslist Los Angeles, Craigslist New York, Craigslist Austin, Texas. You can search within a city through Craigslist. And then when you search in that city, you get all of the job postings in that city. So what I did is I thought, okay, I am going to look in other cities for remote positions because it doesn't matter if I'm located in that city or not, I'm going to be remote. So it really doesn't matter. So what I would do is I would put this on my schedule. I don't think I did daily, but I think I did about a weekly basis, like a Sunday afternoon, post it up at a coffee shop, and then would check some big cities because I figure big cities probably have more job opportunities. So a quick note, I found that it was a lot easier to apply to companies that were already used to the idea of their employees working remotely versus trying to convince a company with an office to work remotely. It just seemed like it was much easier to, if a company was, first and foremost, all entirely remote, distributed team, or could work remote a couple days a week, that was a lot easier to me, it seemed like, versus, going to a company and being like, hey, I'm a new hire and I want to work remotely. You really have to build up that rapport, build up your value to be able to leverage to, get an ask like that. But that just seemed like way too much work. I was like, I'm just gonna forget that and I'm gonna focus on companies that already want remote workers, and that seems like it'll be a much easier battle than versus, an office who they require employees to be on site. I actually ended up finding a position in New York, and they actually didn't have any preference whether the candidate was in New York or, somewhere across the United States. They just cared that they had the experience and they had, the skills that they needed for this position. So I ended up applying to this position. So then I got a call back and I got an interview and I ended up getting the position. A couple things that I would recommend if you are seeking a remote position is I would try to figure out the position that you're applying for. Do research and make sure that position could be something that could easily transfer to a remote position. So for instance, for me, I was looking for like social media manager, digital project manager, like digital marketing strategist, anything in that realm. And from the research that I saw, it was, depending on the company, that was a position that could be offered remote. And the research that I did is I saw positions that offered that position remotely. So I knew that position could clearly be done anywhere. So if you are really, really wanting a remote position, really get creative and think about if one, the position that you want could easily be transferred to a remote position, and two, if it's not, maybe try to pivot a little bit, adjust your skills, like kind of market yourself in a different way to get a position where you would easily be able to work remotely. Okay, next, make sure your online presence is nice. The fact that you're not going to be able to meet with them in an office, you're likely going to have a phone call or a video call, they're not going to have too much to go off of, so make sure your online presence is looking good. So for instance, you have a really nice professional LinkedIn photo, you maybe have a website or a blog or a portfolio that you can show them that looks really nice, you're active on social media platforms so they can get to know you a little bit, kind of get to know your style. The next thing is be open to sending a video resume or even a video introduction video. I've seen a lot of positions before and recently that ask for a video resume, and they just want to get to know you a little bit more. And like I said before, a remote position is really highly competitive. So how can you stand out from the crowd? How can you leverage your skills, leverage your experience so you come up on top? Make sure you have really great phone skills and really great video call skills, because working remotely, that's pretty much all that you're going to be doing versus, there's never going to be any in-person meeting. So practice your phone skills, get comfortable on the phone. I can link up above. I did a video all about how to have a really great video call, so you can check out that video for some tips, but just getting in some practice. So if you don't feel comfortable on the phone or on video, practice. Make time to practice so you can get better. So whether that's calling your mom and just practicing talking on the phone, or practice, talking to yourself in the mirror, record yourself, talk to yourself, just get comfortable if you can on a video call, on a phone call, so you can have those skills and just be really competitive. So the next thing is, and I mentioned this earlier in the video, but just being very, very clear and very intentional with what you want. So making it very obvious you want to work remotely. So updating your LinkedIn summary, updating your cover letter, updating your resume. What I did for a period of time is literally on my resume when it said the location, and this was because it was a remote position, so I wouldn't change it if you're obviously don't lie on your resume, but I just made it, same with my LinkedIn, I made it very obvious that remote positions instead of the locations, because I just wanted to make it very obvious remote work is what I am seeking. So the other thing too, and I will link these down in the description box below, but I subscribe to a handful of remote online job boards, and a lot of these job boards send out weekly newsletters with kind of curated list of remote positions. So this was really great, and I always send these to friends who I know are looking for a remote position, but it's great. You check them and you just kind of sift through to see if you fit any of the positions. I cannot tell you how many positions I found just Googling it and just searching for remote digital project manager or remote agency or remote companies, and then search through those companies to find if they have any positions. So to those of you who are currently looking for a remote position, best of luck. You'll be able to do this. Just be very intentional. Make sure your cover letter, online presence is all looking good, and before you know it, you'll be able to get one. If this video is helpful, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.